trees, unmoving, masked. It disappears a moment later. We interviewed a retired ranger who once patrolled that area. He spoke under condition of anonymity. He said, quote, "That camp should have been buried under concrete. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, there were stories. A boy drowned there. Then murders, real ones, not movie stuff. Locals said it was haunted, that you could hear screaming. We shut the trails down, but hikers kept finding it anyway, like it wanted to be found. Kyle didn't leave. Despite seeing the figure, despite the damage to the cabins, the claw marks on trees, the hanging bones, he stayed another night. We know this because he filmed it, and that night the screaming started. Not his, not human. A hype, distant, echoing scream that fades into static. He whispers into the lens, "Something's outside. It's walking in circles around the tent." But it doesn't sound like feet. That night, he didn't sleep. The footage shows him gripping a small camping knife, breathing fast, tears in his eyes. Then the audio cuts, and the camera turns off. The next clip begins in daylight. But Kyle is disoriented. He's limping. His compass spins in his hand. "I've been walking in the same direction for hours," he says. "It's not possible. I saw this rock. I marked this tree." He looks at the camera, dead serious. Something's wrong with the woods. Kyle's descent into panic didn't happen suddenly. It crept in slowly, frame by frame. His camera shakes more. His narration fades. He stops addressing the audience entirely. The confident YouTuber who once taught others how to survive a mountain storm now breathes erratically into the lens. He no longer films the scenery. He only films proof that he's still alive, that something is watching him, and that the forest around him is no longer natural. He makes a fire in broad daylight. His voice, dry and trembling, mutters, "I think it's scared of the light." Later, the fire is out, but the camera continues recording. In that dim forest footage, slowed down frame by frame, you can see eyes reflecting light behind a fallen log. Eyes that blink, but never move. That log had no animal tracks nearby, no indentations, and in the next clip, the log is gone. What made Kyle stay another night? No one knows. Maybe he was exhausted. Maybe he couldn't find a way out. Maybe something made him stay. In his final overnight clip, he barricades himself inside one of the ruined cabins. The walls are covered in black scratch marks, strange symbols burned into the wooden floor. He says, quietly, "It's real. It's not a legend. It's not just a story." He stares into the camera. He's here, then he pauses, and he doesn't breathe. Then comes the most infamous clip of the entire recovery, the confrontation. It's around 3 a.m. Kyle places the camera facing the shattered door. Total darkness. Rain drips through the broken ceiling. The wind howls. And then a creak. The sound of a boot on old wood. Slow, steady, getting closer. Kyle whispers, "Don't move, don't move." And then the door shatters. Something charges inside. The camera topples. There's a scream, but it's not Kyle's. It's low, raspy, inhuman, silence. When the lens finally stabilizes, Kyle is gone. The room is empty. Then, 5 seconds later, we hear him gasp. He's under the floorboards, whispering, crying. "He's real, he's real." He repeats it 22 times before the clip ends in total static. We took that clip to an audio forensics lab. What they discovered defies explanation. In the static background of Kyle's whispers, layered beneath the hiss, is another voice, deep, slow, saying, "Run." Then again, "Run," and then it laughs. Investigators believe Kyle escaped the cabin that night. In the next recovered video, he's sprinting down a trail, blood on his arm, torn clothing, wheezing. His words are broken, can't escape. It follows. It changes the woods. He stops, looks behind him, and says, "It wants me lost. I've walked this loop 3 times. It's not letting me leave." That matches another local legend. Hikers lost 4 days, only to emerge near the same entrance they entered through, unaware they'd been gone longer than expected. One woman, rescued in 2003, claimed the trees whispered her name. A boy in 1997 was found catatonic, clutching a dirty hockey mask. His fingernails were torn out. He never spoke again. Kyle's footage becomes more fragmented after that, broken. Time stops, glitching video, long sections of blackness. At one point, his own voice seems to echo ahead of him, repeating things he hadn't yet said. In one segment, he turns the camera to face a tree and carves an X into it with a knife. He films himself walking for over an hour. When he finally collapses from exhaustion, he wakes up, staring at the same tree with the same X. The final 3 clips are the most disturbing. In the first, Kyle is crying, not from fear, from something deeper. He's broken. "I thought it was just stories," he says. "I thought those movies were fake. I thought it wasn't real." His lips tremble. He closes his eyes. But Jason is real, and he doesn't die. In the second clip, we see what appears to be a cave. A dark entrance hidden beneath a fallen hill of trees. Inside are broken weapons, shredded clothes, and bones. A shrine sits in the back, a child's doll nailed to a wall. Kyle stares at it and mutters, "He was a boy once, just a boy." Then the final clip begins. Kyle runs through the dark, heavy footsteps behind him, screaming, crashing branches. He trips, crawls, turns the camera toward the sound, and then the frame freezes. A silhouette appears, massive, wearing a weathered jacket, face obscured by a white, dirty hockey mask. It raises something, metal. Then everything cuts. To black. For 9 days, Kyle Mikled's whereabouts remained a mystery. His girlfriend, Megan, reported him missing on October 9th, 2 days after he failed to check in. Search and rescue teams from the Sierra Nevada district began combing the trail. Helicopters swept overhead. K-29 units followed scent trails. Drones were deployed. But despite all their efforts, nothing. No tent, no body, no blood, no signs of a man who had ever been there. It was as if Kyle had simply evaporated into the trees. But then, a break. On October 21st, 2 volunteer hikers stumbled across a crushed GoPro camera near the base of a shallow ravine, several miles from where Kyle's GPS trail had last pinged. The casing was broken. The memory card was damaged, but not destroyed. That card would become the center of everything that followed. What investigators found on it was not just a series of survival videos. It was evidence of something that should not exist. Something that blurred the lines between myth and murder. The camera had recorded nearly 37 hours of footage, disorganized, fragmented, but chilling. We spoke with one of the hikers who found it. His face was pale as he told us. There were scratches on the rocks nearby, like claw marks, not from a bear, too deep, too symmetrical. And we found an old machete stuck into a tree stump about 20 feet away, rusted but still sharp. The footage was analyzed by digital forensics. Experts tried to debunk it, to explain the glitches, the shadows, the audio anomalies, but most came away with more questions than answers. In one segment, when Kyle is hiding, a strange warping occurs on the edge of the frame. The image bends, distorts, and resets. Analysts called it a data corruption error, but it's synchronized with a moment when Kyle whispers. He's standing right behind the tree, yet nothing is visibly there. Until the warp, one audio clip was so disturbing it was passed to law enforcement. In it, Kyle breathes rapidly, hiding behind a boulder. Then another voice speaks, not his, whispering directly into the microphone, though no one is near. He knows you're alone. Investigators tried to isolate the voice's source. No animal matches. No known mechanical error creates a voice that low, that close, that human. It appears and disappears in the same instant. At this point, the case shifted. No longer treated as just a missing person, but something stranger. Officials didn't release the footage to the public, only a handful of stills. Rumors spread fast. Some said the forest was cursed. Others believed Kyle had stumbled onto a cult site, but many pointed fingers at a far older story, the legend of Jason Voorhees, the town near the trailhead, once known as Crystal Hills, now renamed, and nearly abandoned, has long carried whispers of a killer in the woods. Residents from as far back as the 1950s reported seeing a boy with a deformed face wandering the woods, only to vanish. In the 70s and 80s, the disappearances increased. Officially, they were written off as animal attacks, drowning accidents, hikers lost in the mountains, but the number of victims exceeded expectations, nearly 24 between 1972 and 1985. Many were never found. Only gear, backpacks, footprints that stopped in the middle of nowhere, and in one case, a severed boot containing a human foot still in the sock. Retired Sheriff's Deputy Michael Trent agreed to speak with us under anonymity. He told us bluntly, we were told to ignore it, to not stir panic. But yeah, we all heard the stories. Hell, I saw him once, middle of the night, standing across the lake, white mask, just watching. I called it in. You know what the department told me? Don't file it. That was 1984. A week later, we lost another kid. We also spoke with a local tribal historian. According to her, the land where Crystal Lake Camp once stood was considered taboo long before colonists arrived. My people called it the Forest of the Drowned Boy, she explained. They believed a spirit lived there, a child who died unjustly, who came back, but he didn't return the same. She looked into the camera and said, the white man gave him a name, Jason. When we showed her footage from Kyle's camera, she went pale, particularly the frame that shows the dark cave with offerings, broken toys, clothes, bones. She said, that's not a cave, that's a shrine. Someone or something built it. Meanwhile, search efforts officially ended after 14 days. Authorities claimed there was no more evidence, that Kyle likely fell into a ravine and was lost to the elements. But unofficially, rescue workers say they were told to stop because too many volunteers began experiencing panic attacks, nightmares. One even went missing for several hours before being found curled up in the fetal position, eyes wide open, unresponsive. Then there's the strange case of the second hiker. In late November 2017, another backpacker was found wandering near the edge of Crystal Lake Forest, barefoot, muttering nonsense. He had no ID, no phone, no idea who he was. In his coat pocket was a drawing, crude, done in charcoal, of a figure in a white mask holding a machete. When asked who drew it, the hiker said, "He gave it to me." Said to warn the others, never hike alone. To this day, he remains in a psychiatric care facility. Diagnosis: trauma-induced amnesia, dissociative psychosis, and visual hallucinations. But when shown Kyle's final video frame, the silhouette, the man wept and repeated, "That's him, that's the one, that's the man in the trees." After the discovery of Kyle Mikled's camera, the footage quickly leaked onto obscure internet forums. Paranormal Reddit communities and horror-focused YouTube channels began dissecting every frame, every audio anomaly, every shadow that crossed the lens. Within days, dozens of video essays appeared, all asking the same question: what exactly did Kyle capture in those woods? Many called it a hoax, an elaborate viral project designed to mimic a found footage horror film. But when journalists dug deeper, they confirmed the footage's origin from official SAR recovery reports. The time-stamped metadata, GPS tags, and photographic matches to the real Sierra Nevada terrain proved it authentic. Kyle was real. The footage was real. The fear in his voice, undeniable. Debunkers attempted to explain what happened. Some claimed Kyle suffered a psychotic break. Hallucinations caused by isolation, dehydration, or fungal exposure. Others blamed it on sleep deprivation. One psychologist suggested Kyle might have projected an urban legend onto the stress of survival. But even those who dismiss the Jason theory admit, nothing explains how the compass glitched, how the trail looped endlessly, or how a voice other than Kyle's whispered directly into his microphone. And then more sightings began. In 2018, a pair of hikers from Washington uploaded a 14-minute video where they too stumbled upon a derelict building, deep in the forest. A shattered sign reads CL Camp. They laughed at first, until night fell. In their final 5 minutes of footage, recorded on a phone's flashlight mode, a shape crosses behind them, tall, silent, wearing what looks like a mask. Their video ends with screaming. They made it out barely and later deleted the video, but mirror uploads went viral. To this day, some believe the footage was staged. Others, who've hiked those same woods, say the buildings are real, but no one finds them unless they're already being followed. In 2020, a group of amateur ghost hunters went missing for 48 hours in the same region. When they reappeared, they refused to speak to media. One of them was hospitalized with severe nerve damage in both legs from crawling. They never explained why. We spoke to a cryptolinguist who analyzed the whispered word Kyle captured, "run." She slowed and reversed the audio and made a chilling discovery. The voice isn't just saying, "run," it's saying, "run. You're mine now." The reversed waveform exactly matches an ultrasonic pattern, the kind sometimes used in military-grade sonic deterrence, but no device like that was ever registered in the area. Then there are the online conspiracy theories. One theory suggests that Camp Crystal Lake wasn't just a summer camp, but a cover for early psychological experiments. A child allegedly drowned during one of the tests. Others believe the government covered up mass killings in the forest and pinned them on wildlife. A more fringe idea, that Jason Voorhees isn't human at all, but a forest entity that adapts to fear, that he takes the form people expect. A mask, a machete, a killer born of belief. Whatever the truth is, one fact remains. Kyle MacLeod never came home. His channel still exists. Frozen, his last upload, never officially released, remains locked, but rumors say a full version of the footage is still out there. Black market torrent sites, USB sticks passed at horror conventions, files labeled only Naxvid_final. In these rumored versions, there are scenes too disturbing to show footage of a shrine made of bone, a deer with no face, Kyle whispering, a child's name in his sleep, a flash of something, eyes wide, standing just outside the firelight, never blinking, and then finally, the last frame, a slow pan as Kyle drops the camera, a figure standing beside a tree, unmoving, masked. He lifts his machete, steps forward, then static. No body was ever found. No trace of Kyle's gear except for the camera. But the legend grew. Crystal Lake was wiped from official maps in 2021. Trails rerouted, ranger stations decommissioned, and yet hikers still go missing, still report strange sounds, still tell stories of waking up to footprints circling their tents. If Jason Voorhees was only a myth, why does the myth keep walking? Why does the trail never change? Why do some people like Kyle MacLeod walk into the woods and never walk out? And most importantly, why do those who survive always whisper the same words? Never hike alone. What if Kyle MacLeod wasn't the first? What if everything that happened to him had happened before? In 1992, a 41-year-old botanist named Dr. Elias Monroe went missing while conducting an independent ecological survey in the same forest zone where Kyle disappeared. Like Kyle, he left behind no body, only a shattered camera, a torn tent, and a journal soaked with rain. The last entry in his field notebook read, "They say he's real. The man in the lake. I saw him. I wish I hadn't." That case was never solved. It remains archived in a redacted file simply titled Monroe LSALT closed. Natural cause presumed. But that file was recently unsealed, and what's inside makes your blood run cold. In the file's appendix is a blurry photo, dated 1992, showing a massive silhouette standing waist-deep in murky lake water, behind Dr. Monroe's camp. Enhanced versions show what appears to be a hockey mask. There are over 9 separate disappearances between 1960 and 2017 that match the same pattern as Kyle's, male or female, usually alone or in pairs, off trail by several miles, equipment recovered, camera footage damaged, bodies never found. In several cases, a journal, scratched tree, or radio log mentioning a man or the mask. But here's what makes it worse. These cases were deliberately buried. A Freedom of Information Act request filed by a researcher in 2021 revealed a number of internal emails from a federal park investigation unit. In one email chain, dated July 15, 2002, a supervisor writes, "Do not escalate this to public affairs. Refer to the Crystal Hills Protocol. We've seen this before." The phrase Crystal Hills Protocol appears multiple times, always in connection with unexplained injuries, hallucinations, trail malfunctions, or erratic GPS readings. These are not random events. They follow a pattern. And that pattern points to one place, a zone known by locals as Dead Trail Ridge, but officially marked unnamed. We reached out to a retired FBI analyst who spoke under the condition of anonymity. She confirmed there was a sealed investigation into the Jason Voorhees mythos, not as folklore, but as a case of mass psychogenic influence, a phenomenon where groups of people experience identical visions, fears, even injuries, without physical cause. She said, quote, "The evidence doesn't point to a human killer. It points to something deeper, something that manipulates perception, that preys on guilt, fear, and memory. That's why the survivors are never the same." She added, "They always say the same thing. He knew I was alone, and now there's more. Something even more terrifying. Kyle Micled's GPS beacon, a device that pings satellite coordinates every 30 minutes, continued transmitting 6 hours after his last recorded video. But the location didn't make sense. It showed Kyle moving uphill at over 8 miles per hour, through forest too dense to traverse, with no trail impossible. No human could move that fast in that terrain, especially one bleeding, exhausted, and lost. Satellite data confirms that the final ping stopped at an elevation 40 feet below the surface of Crystal Lake, the same lake where, decades earlier, a boy allegedly drowned. The GPS signal ended. Underwater, dive teams searched the lake for days. They found nothing, but in one sonar scan, there was a shape, irregular, tall, almost humanoid, standing on the lake bed. When the diver descended to that location, the shape was gone. But his camera captured a brief second of movement in the silt, as if something had stepped backward. Meanwhile, the nearby town of Crystal Hills has tried to erase all association with the story. After Kyle's disappearance, they removed all signage referencing Crystal Lake. They closed down the last ranger station in 2019. But when we spoke with locals, one man told us, "I lived here since 1971. We've always known something lived out there. I heard it when I was 10. I heard it last week. He's still there, still watching, still waiting." His wife, seated beside him, began to cry. "He took my brother," she said, "and we never say his name." Kyle's family, to this day, receives anonymous emails, glitches, coordinates, messages like, "He's still in the forest," or "You should have gone looking." One email, sent from an encrypted server, contained only a single image, Kyle's final frame, but this time there were 2 shadows behind him, not one. Even stranger, none of those shadows appear in the original file recovered from the GoPro. This version is longer by 4 seconds, shows new footage, and contains new audio, a whisper deeper than before. 3 words, not run, not don't hike, but he's becoming me. In the summer of 2023, a survivalist and urban explorer known online as Jason Hunter set out to document the Crystal Lake Trail, the very same path where Kyle MacLeod vanished 6 years earlier. Hunter had heard the stories, dismissed the rumors, and prepared meticulously for his solo trek. His plan was to livestream his hike, confronting the legend head-on, and proving once and for all whether Jason was fact or fiction. Hunter began with confident commentary, detailing the rugged terrain, pointing out remnants of the abandoned camp, and joking about the infamous hockey mask. But as dusk settled, his tone shifted. The light dimmed, the forest grew quiet, and his chat started flooding with viewers warning him to turn back. At one point, viewers noticed Hunter's camera feed, glitching brief static, strange distortions, and faint whispers. Hunter laughed, nervously, blaming technical issues. But then, suddenly, his camera caught something chilling, shadow moving just beyond the tree line. Taller than any man, wearing a mask that gleamed faintly in the fading light. Hunter whispered into his mic, "Is someone there?" The chat exploded with warnings. Then the shadow stepped forward, revealing itself fully a weathered, white hockey mask stained with rust and grime. The figure raised a machete, and the feed cut to black. Hours later, search teams found Hunter's abandoned gear beside a shattered tent. His camera was missing. His phone was found with a single voicemail recording Hunter's own voice, trembling, repeating the words, "Never hike alone, never hike alone." Since then, the Crystal Lake Trail has become a digital shrine for horror fans and conspiracy theorists alike. The footage from Kyle MacLeod and Jason Hunter circulates in underground forums and encrypted chat groups, spawning endless debates. Some believe the masked figure is an ancient entity bound to the land. Others think it's a person, perhaps a deranged guardian of the forest, or a curse passed down through generations. YouTube channels dissect every frame. Paranormal podcasts speculate about interdimensional beings, and survivalists dare each other to visit the trail. But those who have returned speak of an unshakable presence of feeling watched, followed, hunted. Local authorities officially deny any supernatural activity, but the truth remains elusive. Rangers refuse to patrol the area at night. The Crystal Lake Forest is off-limits after sunset, with posted warnings: respect the wilderness, respect the past, never hike alone. And the stories continue, whispered at campfires, typed in dark forums, shared in hushed voices. The legend of Jason Voorhees isn't just fiction. It's a warning, a memory, a shadow lurking in the trees. So, if you ever find yourself standing at the edge of that forgotten trail, watching the sun dip below the pines, remember the words that echo through the forest: never hike alone, because in those woods, someone or something is always watching, and it's waiting. Since Kyle MacLeod's disappearance and the viral spread of his haunting footage, the legend of the Vanishing Trail has taken on a life of its own, far beyond the forests of Crystal Lake, online. The story has exploded into a sprawling mythos, spawning hundreds of fan theories, digital investigations, and chilling eyewitness accounts that continue to emerge from the depths of the internet. One of the most discussed theories suggests that the figure known as Jason is not merely a single entity, but a manifestation of the forest's ancient spirit, bound to protect its secrets at any cost. According to folklore revived by local tribal elders, the land itself is cursed, a portal between worlds where time bends and shadows take form. These stories speak of travelers trapped in endless loops, echoes of the past bleeding into the present. We interviewed Dr. Leela Kwan, a folklorist specializing in North American legends, who explained many indigenous cultures describe threshold spirits, beings who guard sacred places, especially where tragedy occurred. The mask symbolizes anonymity, a way to strip away human identity and become one with the spirit of the forest. It's a powerful archetype, but some fans refuse to accept supernatural explanations. On Reddit, a popular thread titled "Vanishing Trail, Real or Hoax?" has amassed over 50,000 comments. Here, amateur sleuths analyze every frame of Kyle's footage, hunting for clues and inconsistencies. One user, known as TrailWatcher77, uncovered a series of encrypted messages hidden in the static, fragments of coordinates, dates, even names. Some of these names correspond to missing persons from nearby counties, dating back decades. The legend has also inspired countless urban explorers and thrill seekers to visit the trail, despite official warnings. Many return with strange stories, footsteps that follow them long after they've left, whispers in languages no one understands, and unexplained electronic interference on their devices. One such explorer, Mia Hernandez, shared her chilling experience with us. I camped near the old cabin ruins. Around midnight, my GPS started glitching and my phone kept ringing, but there was no one on the line. Then I heard someone whisper my name through the wind. I packed up and left immediately. Social media accounts devoted to Crystal Lake encounters have grown exponentially. Videos labeled as live or found footage circulate widely, some authentic, many fabricated. But the fear and fascination are real. The line between story and reality blurs. Psychologists studying the phenomenon suggest this is a modern example of collective hysteria, fueled by the internet's echo chambers. The story resonates because it taps into primal fears, isolation, being watched, the unknown lurking just beyond sight. Yet, even skeptics admit that the true terror lies not in proving or disproving the legend, but in understanding how deeply it has embedded itself into our cultural consciousness. The Vanishing Trail is more than a story, it's a warning, a modern myth born from real loss and mystery. In recent months, new reports have emerged of hikers receiving anonymous GPS pings with coordinates that lead straight into the forest, only to find themselves disoriented or missing for hours. Some report seeing shadowy figures with glowing eyes. Others claim to have received text messages on their phones from unknown numbers, messages simply stating, "He's waiting." The local authorities remain tight-lipped, officially attributing such reports to pranksters or wildlife. But some retired rangers we spoke to refused to comment on camera. Their faces pale, voices trembling when asked about the mask. As technology evolves, so does the legend. Drones flown over the area sometimes capture unexplained lights and movements that defy natural explanation. Thermal cameras pick up heat signatures where no human should be, and inexplicably, some footage shows distortions, warped faces, shifting shadows as if the forest itself is alive. The Vanishing Trail remains one of the most enduring and chilling mysteries of our time, and perhaps it will stay that way. A story told around campfires, shared in hushed whispers, a shadow in the woods that refuses to fade. So next time you see a trail marked closed, or hear the wind rustle through the trees, remember Kyle MacLeod, Jason Hunter, and all the others who vanished on the path. Remember the warnings whispered in the dark, because on the Vanishing Trail, you are never truly alone. The legend of the Vanishing Trail is not isolated. Across the globe, forests and wilderness areas harbor similar stories, tales of travelers who enter alone and vanish without a trace, of mysterious masked figures, and of places where time and reality warp in Japan. The story of the Kuchisakana, the slit-mouthed woman, serves as a warning about the dangers lurking in quiet streets and darkened paths. In Scandinavia, the Huldra, a forest spirit, lures wanderers into the woods to never return. And in the United States itself, many old logging towns whisper of the Skinwalker, a shape-shifting entity said to stalk the deep woods. Psychologists believe these stories reflect a universal human fear: isolation in the wilderness, the unknown, the feeling that something watches you, waiting for the moment you falter. We reached out to James Whitaker, a survivor of a similar disappearance in Oregon's Cascade Mountains. Whitaker recounts, "I was hiking alone when the compass started spinning. My phone died. Then I heard breathing, but no one was there. I ran for hours, but the trees looked the same. When I finally broke out, hours had passed, though it felt like minutes. These experiences mirror Kyle Micheled's final hours, an unsettling convergence of terror that transcends time and geography. Moreover, recent advancements in satellite imaging have revealed strange anomalies in the Crystal Lake region. Areas where the forest canopy seems unnaturally distorted, shadows moving against the wind, and odd heat signatures deep beneath the Earth's surface. Some researchers suggest these could be gateways to alternate dimensions or residual psychic imprints from traumatic events. Skeptics dismiss such claims as pseudoscience, but the patterns remain unexplained. The forest defies mapping. Trails shift, memories fade. Finally, we leave you with the words of a local elder, a keeper of ancient knowledge. The forest holds many secrets. It listens, it remembers, it punishes those who forget the old rules. If you walk there, be respectful, be cautious, and above all, never walk alone. This is more than a legend. It is a living, breathing nightmare, a reminder of the fragile boundary between our world and the darkness beyond. So, if you ever find yourself drawn to the whispering trees, to that forgotten trail, think twice, because some stories are meant to remain untold. Some paths are meant to be left untraveled, and sometimes, when you walk alone, the shadows walk with you. What happens to those who survive encounters on the vanishing trail? Few speak openly, but their stories share a common thread. Terror that lingers long after the forest has been left behind. We track down several individuals who claim to have escaped the grip of the entity known as Jason, or whatever force lurks in those woods. One woman, Sarah, who disappeared for nearly 48 hours in 2019, recalls, "I remember walking, then suddenly I couldn't tell if I was moving forward or backward. My phone battery died. I tried calling for help, but all I heard was a whisper. Not a voice, more like a breeze, but with words. It said, 'You're mine now.' I was frozen. I think it was watching me, learning. When I finally got out, I felt like something left with me, like a shadow in my mind." Another survivor, Mark, recorded an audio log during his hike in 2021, an eerie, fragmented diary of his ordeal. The tape begins calmly but grows increasingly frantic. The trail doesn't end. Trees are shifting. I can hear footsteps behind me, but every time I look back, nothing. I'm losing time. I don't know if I'm awake or dreaming. Please, if someone finds this, don't come here. Don't hike alone." We obtained a copy of this audio log. As the minutes tick on, faint static morphs into guttural breathing and low growls. In the final seconds, a distorted voice, not Mark's, whispers, "You can't leave." Despite trauma and fragmented memories, these survivors agree on one thing. The forest has a will of its own. It traps you, changes you, and watches your every step. Paranormal investigators have attempted to explain the phenomena through electromagnetic fields, infrasound, and psychological suggestion. Yet, none have fully replicated the experiences, or disproved the overwhelming number of consistent reports, adding to the mystery. Several recovered personal items watchers stopped at the same time, clothing with inexplicable tears, and journals filled with coded messages suggest that time and reality within the forest may bend unpredictably. In the final message, a chilling note was left at the ranger station in 2024, written in shaky handwriting. "I walked the trail, alone. I heard his footsteps. I saw his mask. He knows my name now, and next time he'll find me. As the sun sets behind the pines, the vanishing trail remains an enigma. A place where fear lives, where legends walk, and where the unwary may never return. So if you ever feel drawn to the dark woods, remember these words, the last warnings from those who know the truth. Never hike alone, never trust the silence, and never look back. Technology has long been a lifeline for hikers and explorers. GPS devices, satellite phones, and high-tech cameras designed to capture every moment. Yet on the vanishing trail, technology seems to fail in inexplicable ways. Multiple hikers have reported sudden GPS blackouts, devices freezing or spinning wildly, as if caught in an invisible electromagnetic storm. Phones lose signal, even in clearings. Batteries drain in minutes, regardless of charge. One backpacker, Lucas, told us, "I was recording a vlog when suddenly my camera shut off. I tried to turn it back on, but it wouldn't respond. My phone died, then the GPS went crazy, showing me moving miles away from the trail, in places I'd never been." Environmental conditions on the trail are equally puzzling. Weather reports sometimes conflict wildly with what hikers experience on the ground. On several occasions, dense fog has appeared out of nowhere, swallowing entire sections of the forest, only to vanish minutes later with no explanation. A few explorers have noticed that animals behave oddly. Birds fall silent, deer freeze in place and stare as if sensing an unseen presence. Even insects cease their buzzing, creating an unnatural stillness that intensifies the feeling of dread. One particularly disturbing account comes from a group of hikers who encountered a sudden drop in temperature while crossing a meadow, a sharp contrast to the otherwise mild weather. Their breath crystallized in the air, and their radios emitted bursts of static before cutting out completely. But perhaps the most unnerving are the unexplained noises. Distant footsteps that stop when approached, muffled whispers in unknown languages, and the unmistakable sound of a machete scraping against wood. A hiker named Emma captured one such sound on her recorder. As she recounts, "I heard the scraping near the old cabin ruins. At first, I thought it was someone chopping wood. Then I realized it was slow, deliberate, and coming closer. When Emma turned to run, her recorder picked up a low, guttural growl followed by heavy breathing. The file ends abruptly. Local legend warns that the vanishing trail is a place where reality frays, where time loops, memories shift, and the forest claims those who disrespect its boundaries. In a final, chilling encounter, a park ranger on a routine patrol reported seeing a figure standing in the shadows near the trailhead, wearing a white mask and holding a rusted machete. The figure vanished before he could approach. That ranger, still shaken, whispered, "I don't believe in ghosts, but what I saw, it wasn't human." So as darkness falls on the vanishing trail, remember, technology may fail, nature may betray, and sometimes the oldest legends are the truest, because out there, lurking in the trees, something waits, something watching, and it never forgets. The vanishing trail doesn't just claim hikers, it changes everyone who ventures near it. The psychological toll on survivors, rescuers, and locals is profound and disturbing. After Kyle MacLeod vanished, numerous search and rescue teams combed the dense forest. But something strange happened. Members of these teams began reporting unexplainable phenomena, sudden cold spots, feelings of dread, and hearing whispers that no one else could hear. One veteran searcher, Tom Reynolds, recalled on the 4th day of the search, I started seeing things, shadows moving in my peripheral vision, footsteps behind me with no one there. It felt like the forest was alive and watching. Over the years, several rescue workers mysteriously disappeared while on duty in the Crystal Lake area. Their bodies were never found. Some speculate they were victims of the same force that claimed the hikers, while others whisper of cover-ups to keep the truth from spreading. Psychologists who have spoken with survivors describe symptoms consistent with post-traumatic stress disorder, but with a strange twist. Many report shared hallucinations, nightmares of the masked figure, and an overwhelming sense of being hunted even after leaving the forest. One survivor, Daniel, told us, "It's like something attached itself to me. I see him in my dreams, hear his breathing in the silence. Don't know if I'm going crazy or if he's still out there." In the final weeks, local authorities received a series of bizarre communications, messages scrawled on tree bark, notes left at trailheads, and an anonymous letter sent to the sheriff's office. The letter read simply, "The mask waits for no one. Respect the woods or become part of the shadow." As this letter circulated, the community grew more fearful. Many locals refused to talk about the vanishing trail, fearing the legend might invite the darkness closer. Some have even installed cameras and sensors around the forest perimeter, only to find them destroyed or inexplicably malfunctioning. Overnight, and the final, chilling twist. One night, a ranger found a camera left on a trail marker. It contained only one video, shaky footage of a figure in a white mask, standing still, staring directly into the lens. The recording ends with the figure slowly raising a machete. No sound. No explanation, just the haunting image of a watcher waiting. The vanishing trail is more than a place, it's a presence. A warning etched into the forest itself. So, as you listen to this story, remember, the woods remember, the mask watchers, and some legends refuse to die. The vanishing trail's shadow extends far beyond the Crystal Lake forest. Strange disappearances and unexplained phenomena have been reported miles away in nearby towns, along highways, and even in homes. Over the past decade, several hikers, campers, and even locals have vanished after reporting eerie sensations of being watched or followed. Some left behind cryptic notes, photos showing fleeting glimpses of a masked figure, or audio recordings capturing chilling whispers. One case that drew national attention was that of Daniel Marks, a truck driver who vanished near the town of Redwood, 20 miles from Crystal Lake. His last known communication was a voicemail filled with static, punctuated by a faint, haunting whisper. "You can't hide from the trail." When authorities searched his truck, they found the keys still in the ignition and a GPS device logged to the forest boundary, but no sign of Marks. Locals speak of a curse, a growing darkness that seeps from the forest like a stain spreading over the land. Many believe the mask's influence isn't limited to the trees. It follows those who dare speak its name, or who look too long at the final frames of Kyle Mikled's footage. Digital forensic experts have uncovered strange anomalies in the files themselves, corrupted data clusters that seem to shift when viewed on different devices, almost as if the footage is alive, changing. Some viewers report feeling sudden chills, headaches, or an overwhelming sense of dread after watching the videos. This phenomenon has sparked debate. Is the vanishing trail's legend fueled by something supernatural, or is it a psychological contagion, spreading fear through media and mind alike? We also discovered an encrypted audio file circulating anonymously online, allegedly recovered from a forgotten ranger's locker. When decrypted, the recording reveals a frantic voice whispering the same phrase over and over. "He's coming. He's always coming." The final seconds of the file contain a burst of static, followed by a voice, distorted and chilling, that says, "Never hike alone." As technology evolves, the Vanishing Trail's grip tightens. Its story continues to haunt us, in whispers, in shadows, and in the silence between the trees. So, before you embark on your next adventure, remember the tales, the warnings, and the faces lost to the forest. Because sometimes, the most terrifying journeys are the ones that never end.